Yo guys, what's going on? In this video, we're going to explore some of my gear, meaning we're going to take a look at my guitars, my amps, my pedals, and some of my recording equipment. So hopefully this should give you a good idea of what I'm using in 2020. I hope you enjoy. Alright, for the guitars, the first one in the arsenal is my Mexican 2014 Telecaster. Now, if you've been watching my channel at all for any period of time, then you've definitely seen this guitar. This is my #1 favorite workhorse instrument. There is no upgrades or modifications to this thing. It's pretty much exactly how it came when I got it out of the box. It's got a nice kind of simple setup. It's quite heavy, actually. That'd be a downside to this guitar here. And the neck is kind of like a tree trunk, so it's a bit difficult to navigate, but the tone is very Telecaster-like, obviously, and that's a big selling point, I think, of this instrument, and it's relatively low cost, too. So this is my 2014 Fender Mexican Telecaster. For the next guitar, I've got this SKYPE jazz bass, which I bought last year. Now, I'm not a bassist, so I can't really say too much about this instrument other than it feels really nice and easy to play, which is part of the reason why I bought it. The neck is really, really comfortable, and I love the color with this contrasting pickguard and the black body here. I play this guy so infrequently, so there's actually plastic still in the tuners, and that's honestly not going to change anytime soon because I'm too lazy to take it off, and I just don't care. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great sounding instrument, and I would recommend it, I suppose, for those who are looking for an easy entry-level electric bass guitar. So this is a SKYPE electric jazz bass. And let's move on now to the next guitar. So this instrument here is a nylon classical guitar. It's a Cordoba CE4, which I bought around 3 years ago. And the story behind this, I'm not a classical guitarist, and I usually don't play nylon string, but the story behind this is that 3 years ago I was applying for a classical music program. And so that program required that I play classical guitar instead of electric guitar. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try this. And so 2 weeks before my audition to the program, I went and bought this guy. I'd never played any fingerstyle / nylon before, so I spent like 8 hours a day practicing for 2 weeks, and that was a terrible idea because when I did the audition, I absolutely sucked, and I was really nervous because I had no fluency on this instrument, and so I didn't get into the program. But that being said, I think this guitar has a really beautiful tone, and it feels really easy to play, and I definitely practice my fingerstyle on it from time to time, and hopefully in the future I'll be making some videos that showcase this instrument. So this is the Cordoba CE4. Moving on, we've got another electric guitar here. You guys have never seen this one before, but this is a Fender Player Series, meaning the lowest of the low of the Fender's Jaguar. So this is actually my dad's guitar, but I play this one quite a lot these days, and I use it just in my practice, not so much in recording. But the reason I like this guitar is that it's just super simple. The neck is really, really nice, really easy to play, especially relative to the Telecaster. And so sometimes it's nice to have an instrument that feels good on your hands and feels like you can really control what you're doing on it. It's got a short scale, like all of these other Jaguar guitars, and there's really no frills with this instrument here. So it's got these single coil pickups. I'm not really sure exactly what they are. It's got a tremolo. I don't know where that has gone. And it's just got tone and volume knobs, so none of the diverse circuitry / tone settings of an actual Jaguar. But yeah, once again, a Fender Player Series Jaguar guitar. Finally, for the last one, let me just grab it. This is my 2011 SKYPE Jazzmaster. So this is probably the #2 guitar in my arsenal, and if you've been following my channel for a while, you've probably seen me play this at some point. So this guy is currently extremely out of tune, and it's got a broken string, so I haven't really been using it too often. But this guitar has a lot of perks. For one, it's got a really nice neck that is really easy to play. It's lightweight. It has a nice kind of chimey bell-like tone, and it has a lot of interesting tone options. So there's kind of 2 different pickup setting areas that you can use, which is pretty neat, giving you a lot of diverse tone options from thinner sounds to thicker sounds. This guy used to have a tremolo bar as well, but I don't know where it went. I've just had it for so long that things have gone missing with it, unfortunately. And it's got some Jazzmaster pickups. One downside of this instrument is that the pickups run a bit hot, so it's really easy to get a shrill sound. But if you get even just a slightly higher level Jazzmaster, I feel like they kind of take away that issue. And so, yeah, maybe if you're looking for a Jazzmaster instrument, then maybe going one tier up on this guy would be a good idea. But yeah, this thing is relatively affordable. It's easy to play, lightweight, and sounds pretty close to the real deal for a cheap Squier guitar. And the offset look, I definitely love that style, and you know, this is a good entry to that. So those are my guitars. Up next, here are some of my pedals. So here's my pedal board, if I can just rotate it for a second. So I am not honestly a big fan of guitar pedals, and I don't buy pedals very often. So if you've seen the other gear video, this is pretty much the exact same pedal board that I had way back in like 2016. I pretty much buy a new pedal every like 5 years. So I think the newest pedal that I've got here is this Philosopher's Tone, which I probably bought like in 2015 or 2014. I can't even remember, but it's a compressor pedal. So anyways, this is a very minimalist board here. I've got an Akai head rush, which I use as a delay and looper pedal. I've got an Electro Harmonix Holy Grail, which is a reverb. I've got this Garage Tone chainsaw, which is a light distortion, and then we've got the Philosopher's Tone, which is a compressor pedal, and then a tuner. And it's all mounted to this T-Rex tone trunk, which is a pretty nice and relatively affordable pedal board setup. I like it because it's just small and fits the minimalist setup that I have. It doesn't encourage me to go and really buy and use more pedals and stuff like that. I'm just kind of the mindset that I prefer not to be distracted by the pedal effects, and I prefer to just try and create those sounds on my instrument and work on my tone in that kind of way. I mean, that being said, nothing really against pedals, but it's just not really my thing. And finally, this guy is powered by this MXR ISO brick. I don't know if you can see this here, but it's just mounted into the back, and so that guy's nice because it's just got a couple different power supply inputs there, and some different voltage settings on that guy too. As for other pedals, I've got two other ones that I want to show you. This one is a homemade tube screamer, so something that is profiled basically exactly off of the Ibanez tube screamers, and I actually want to put this one on my board. It sounds a lot better than the chainsaw Garage Tone pedal, but for some reason that one's on the board at the moment. And last but not least, I've also got another reverb pedal, and this one's actually really cool. So it's a Behringer RV600 reverb machine. And so the reason that I like this pedal is that it's got a modulated space reverb setting. So when you play a note, it'll pitch shift that note and add in this layer of ambience behind it. So maybe I'll do a little video on this guy in the future, because it's definitely a neat pedal. And I don't know if they make it anymore, but it actually can do quite a lot, which is really, really awesome. So yeah, those are my guitar pedals. Moving on to amps, when it comes to that category, the main thing that I use these days is this Strymon Iridium Amp Sim pedal. Now I like this because I do a lot of recording, and the kind of tones that I like really require that the amp's volume be cranked up, and that's hard to do in the space that I live in. So I've moved on to this thing, which sounds great and can do a lot of the tones that I really enjoy. Basically, on this pedal, you've got three different kind of amp sounds. So there's a Fender sound, Vox AC30 sound, and a Marshall amp sound. And you've got a bunch of different cabinet simulations and room reverb profiles. So I think it sounds pretty convincing. It's portable, and it'll be a nice option in the future when I absolutely have no option for recording a real guitar. But outside of that, I've got a couple other amps that you guys might have seen in the previous gear video. For my practice amp, I use a Squier BP10, which has honestly a wonderful tone, but it's really hard to record because it produces quite a lot of noise. Like going back to the Iridium, the great thing about this guy is that there's not so much signal noise when I record, which is really a hindrance when I try to record any of my amps. I find that I just get a little too much signal noise, which kind of irritates me. But anyways, beyond the Squier BP10, I've also got a Fender 212 DeVille from 1994. It's extremely heavy, probably weighs over 50 pounds, but it's loud, it's clean, it sounds gorgeous on a stage, and that's probably going to be my gigging amp for the foreseeable future, though I might try and use the Iridium even in a live setting with some DI and PA action. And finally, another amp that I use is a replica of a Fender 5E3 or just Fender Deluxe, another little practice amp, something I've used in some recording as well. It's got a nice clean tone, very Fenderish, but can't really go wrong with that. So yeah, really the main thing is the Iridium these days, but I've got a couple other amps, and maybe you'll hear them in the future too. Finally, in terms of the recording setup, I'll just talk about what I've got behind me here and also in front of me. So I'm recording into Shure SM58, and it's going into this Focusrite IE20 here. So this is a nice 8 input interface. And so the reason I have so many inputs is that I also have a drum set. Won't be talking about the setup for that today, but I use a lot of these inputs to record the drums here, and it's relatively no frills, just like any other Focusrite interface, but it just has more inputs. Other than that, I've got a field recorder, this Zoom H2N. If you're looking to just get into some entry-level recording, like if you're making videos or just want to like record your compositions or band practices, then I really recommend getting a field recorder. This was the first piece of, I guess, hi-fi recording equipment that I ever bought, and I got so much mileage out of it. I still do. I mean, if it wasn't a pandemic right now and I was going to band practices or whatnot, then I would be using this thing to record my ideas. So I definitely recommend getting a field recorder. And if you do any kind of experimental ambient or kind of sound collage stuff, then a field recorder is a really nice tool to have as well, because you can use that to sample all kinds of sounds. Like, for example, I went on vacation to Italy in 2015, and I brought this thing with me, and I just got so many samples from like the inside of churches or walking down the street and just hearing cool sounds and stuff like that. So to get those samples in a nice kind of full high fidelity is really valuable for that kind of artistic project. Anyways, the last bit of kind of major recording equipment here is my iMac. So I just bought this last year, and it's got a 27-inch screen. Can't really remember too much about the specs with this guy, but it's kind of in the middle tier of these computers. Gets the job done. So for my recording, I'm recording on the newest version of Logic. As you can see right now, it's going and recording my voice. And for the video editing, that's all done on Final Cut Pro. So this is kind of the workhorse of my entire setup. It's really this iMac here, and it really allows me to do a lot of stuff. Just as a quick story, when I first started YouTubing, I used to edit my footage on the university computers, a couple bus stops away from my house. And so that was a total pain in the ass, because I would have to film all my stuff here and then take the footage and go edit it there. And so last year I finally got a new computer, and that's helped me to take away that whole travel time thing. And if I made a mistake in my videos in the past, I would have to just kind of like power through it or edit it, because I couldn't just go home and reshoot the footage. So now having a computer like this to do things at my disposal is really, really great. So super happy with the iMac. And yeah, that's my recording setup, and that's my gear. I hope that was insightful, and I hope you enjoyed checking all that stuff out.